Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and Jumu'ah Mubarakah to everyone. Welcome to Verify Halal TV. I am Nur Izzati and I will be the host for today. Alhamdulillah, our guest today is Dr. Barbara Ruiz-Bejarano, the director of the Halal Academy, also known as Escuela Halal in Spain. Assalamualaikum, Dr. Barbara. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Alaikum salam, Ms. Noor. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Juma Mubarak. Thank you for the opportunity of being here, sharing with you. Sure, I'm a PhD in Islamic Studies. I have been working in the halal industry for 4 years now. Before that, I used to work in the Food Technology Center in Valencia, Spain, which is one of the biggest in Europe. And I was in charge of running European projects, including training, knowledge transfer, and consultancy. And now I am the director of Escuela Halal, the Halal Academy. We have our training center in Cordoba, but we do a lot of online training, as you can imagine in these days especially. And we work mainly with Europe and Latin America, but we have also done some cooperation previously with Jakim. For example, we organized a training seminar in Madrid 4 years ago. So we're pretty much involved in training connected with the halal concept. Sure. Well, as I said, I've been connected with food technology on one side, projects all over the world on the other side. And then I was invited to join the Halal Institute 5 years ago. You must know that the Halal Institute is a part of Islamic Board, which is a group of Spanish Muslims. Maybe you don't know that. Well, a lot of people know that Spain used to be a Muslim country in the past. But then after the 1970s, the legislation changed. Before, you could not be legally anything but Catholic. It was, let's say, forbidden. But then in the 1970s, the government passed the Freedom of Religion Act, so everybody could choose their own religion and to practice freely. And then many Spanish people went back to Islam. So we embraced Islam again, and then we started building up different structures because we didn't have a lot of literature in Spanish. There were very specific needs for the Muslim community. So this is how we started working on this issue. So the Halal Institute was born 25 years ago. And the main issues we addressed at the beginning were how to obtain halal food in Spain, but then later on the issue of exporting food, halal food to other Muslim countries came onto the table. So we started working on that until now. Yeah, sure. Well, the experience has been very gratifying in many senses. First, because you realize that Spanish companies really want to engage with Muslims all over the world, not only in business, but also they feel the culture and the religion is attractive in a way. You have to know that in Europe, especially after 9/11, the reputation of Islam and of Muslims were very, very heavily touched in a negative way. So the issue is that we have to work very, very hard in Europe to put the reputation of Islam back as something positive. Now, when entrepreneurs and the people in trade come in contact with real Muslims, they realize this is a beautiful idea and there are many opportunities of engagement. So it's been very rewarding. At the beginning, it's hard. I have to admit, you sometimes find prejudice. You can sometimes find some resistance. But in the end, if you work hard day by day and you engage with people and you're honest about it, I think in the end, they come to realize Islam is a beautiful idea. There's no need to work from prejudice, and also they think the Muslim work now represents a lot of opportunities, because there's so many young and talented people such as yourselves. There's so many opportunities to engage. So for me, it's very rewarding, because you bring them from the negative idea to the actually really, you know, big expectations. So it's really being rewarding. Okay, yeah, at the beginning, it was only a very small project. Officially, it was set 7 years ago. But before that, it was only a small group of people working, you know, as I explained, to change this idea from negative to positive. So in order to develop further, first you have to set the ideas right. So at the beginning, we mainly spoke about Islam, what is our concept of Islam, the positive values, you know, brotherhood, sisterhood, sharing, being responsible, you know, earning honestly, you know, your living, being contented with what you get in life, being happy. I mean, at the beginning, it was working with the concepts. We were very lucky to have some support from the Spanish government, because in Spain, we have 2 million Muslims at the moment in a country of 42. So we are a minority. But very soon, the Spanish government realized we are not ready to serve the Muslim community. We don't have, for example, halal food in schools or in hospitals. So they needed some training. They needed to learn about the needs of the Muslim community. So fortunately, we had a partnership with the government, and the first project was called Educa Islam, and it was to promote a basic education about Islam and Muslims. So this course was intended for the local and regional administrations, so they could understand, you know, who are these Muslims, what are their needs, how can we help. Later on, the idea of Escuela Halal, the Halal Academy, started because there was a certain volume of Spanish companies producing halal for exporting, and they needed to get more information and more training on the core concepts. So the first idea of the Halal Academy was to train companies. It was specifically technical training for companies, not only in the concepts, but also in the technical developments that they needed to adjust in production. Fortunately, the idea has expanded. We have now a team of 3 people in the company, plus a number of cooperators, people who come from universities or from other institutions. And now we do a lot of training, particularly in the tourism sector, which is very, very strong in Spain, even despite the COVID. And also in the food sector. And we have now beginning to work with cosmetics, with pharma, and with logistics, because Spain has a lot of logistics nodes and connections with Europe and with Asia. So we have one of the biggest ports in Europe. The European intermodal railway connects in Cordoba and then goes to Algeciras. So we have a lot of fronts, you know, where we work, and we're very happy because we work with the country authorities. We have a very solid reputation in Spain. Now we are expanding to Mexico and Latin America, because Spain has a lot of connections because of the history and especially the language. And now there are many producers in Latin America interested in learning about halal. So we have an office in Mexico. So we are now also working with Latin America. So all in all, we're happy of the trajectory of Escuela Halal. Well, I believe some do, and some are interested in other kinds of businesses. But yes, we have a number of companies they're not 100% Muslims, but they employ Muslims because they feel safer. If they have some Muslim personnel, they feel safer, they're going to get it right. And I have to say, Spanish companies, they have a very good quality level and they are very committed. So they truly want to have a good product, which is truly halal, which is safe for consumers. So they take very seriously the halal reputation of their companies, and they typically involve Muslims. When it comes to Muslim millennials, you know, like the second generation in Spain, because many Muslims, like my case, we came back to Islam and we were already Spanish, but a lot of Muslims in Spain are migrants from Morocco and Algeria mainly. In their case, they have a second generation now, young Muslim millennials, and they are very, very entrepreneurial. And they are looking at halal, you know, like a good opportunity. Some of them, some are in other trades, you know, like, I don't know, driving a taxi or having, you know, other kinds of businesses. All in all, I think some of them are aware of the opportunities of a global business in Islamic economy. And I would say others are not yet aware of it. But as I said, it is growing. There is more and more visibility. For example, next year we have one of the biggest food fairs in the world, which is called Alimentaria, which will be held, inshallah, in Barcelona. It's been postponed twice already because of the COVID, but inshallah, it will happen in Barcelona next spring. And I'm talking about huge trade fair. And they have a specific halal part of the fair with a congress, a small, you know, one-day congress, to explain halal. So I think it's getting bigger and bigger. Of course, as I said before, there's still a lot of prejudice and we have to work, you know, from our organizations, we do work a lot to fight this prejudice. But yes, it's growing. And I think young people, Muslim people think that, yeah, there could be an opportunity here. Still, it will take a while for these figures that you mentioned to change. I mean, not all Muslims are interested in food production. Many, I don't know, they want to manufacture furniture and then they, you know, they're not specifically, they don't need to meet any specific requirements and so on. But with time, I think things will evolve. For example, in the tourism sector, yes, we have seen a lot of young Muslims are involved. They want to be tour guides, they want to have small companies, they want to accompany other Muslims when they come to Spain. They have to have restaurants. So I have seen that more and more, especially younger Muslims want to get involved in it, but it's not yet mainstream in Europe. We'll have to wait maybe a few more years. In Spain, as I said before, you have to understand first what is the composition of the Muslim population in Europe. We have about 50 million Muslims in the whole of Europe. In Spain, about 2 million. Of these 2 million, about 50% are Spanish with passport, you know, and the other 50% are residents, but of migrant origin. And in this case, they are distributed according to the job opportunities that they can get in Spain. So we have a very big collective in Catalonia. And I have to say something which is, it may come to a surprise to a country such as Malaysia or Indonesia or Brunei or other countries that I have visited, where all the Muslims are more or less of the same fiqh school, of the same tradition, of the same cultural background. But in Spain, the Muslims are very, very diverse. So in the 70s, we received a large group of Palestinians, Syrians, and Jordanians. Then in the 80s, we received a large contingent of Moroccans and Algerians. And now we have big groups of Muslims from Senegal and Pakistan. And then we have minorities like Iraqis, Iranis, Azaris, So it's very mixed, right? We don't have one single idea of a Muslim community. All of our Muslim communities are very diverse. So if you walk to Catalonia, a lot of Pakistani Muslims, you will see a lot of Pakistani businesses, right? Like shops, restaurants, and so on. So Catalonia is at the moment the region with the biggest population. And then we can mention Valencia, Alicante are very much in contact with Algerian communities because they're very close to Algeria geographically. Then in Andalusia, you have lots of Maghrebi origin, Moroccan families. And in Madrid, you have a big mix. So these 4 regions are the regions where you can find most Muslims. It is quite connected to the job opportunities because the reason a lot of them come to Spain is to find job opportunities. Well, I would say that mainly 2 big sectors. Food production, for sure. Spain is naturally a big food producer, and it has, fortunately, a lot of different potential areas within food. So we have big fishery industry, meat industry, and vegetable industry, because we're fortunate that our weather, our climate permits a lot of different produce. And also because we are integrated in the European Union, we have very high quality standards, I would say. Like olive oil production, we are leaders in the world, and it's, you know, the highest quality you can get. Fisheries is also very, very important. And then in meat production, we have very good records of exports of lamb, for example, and also beef. So in terms of food, it's very solid. Good quality and also competitive price, because labor costs in the south of Europe are cheaper than in the north of Europe. So if you want good quality with competitive price, you have to come to Spain, basically. And the other big sector is tourism. And in tourism, we are now working we have now being invited to participate in a European funded project to promote, to create halal tourism ecosystems in the south of Spain and Portugal. As you know, Al-Andalus included the south of Spain, Portugal, and some part of the north of Morocco. So that was like a single political unit. And we have a lot of heritage in these regions. So now we are working in this project to help companies develop a Muslim-friendly tourism, so they can offer Muslim-friendly services. If it's a restaurant, they will have a menu, they will have a kitchen, they will be ready to serve Muslim customers. If it's a spa, if it's a souvenir shop, if it's a hotel. So we're working with different actors, different kinds of businesses that could be involved in tourism. And we're helping them. We have a mentoring program now running, starting next week. Then we are going to do a pilot micro route to test if the training is correct and you know, everybody involved is, you know, they get the right idea and they perform correctly. And we also have the authorities involved so that they will create like an umbrella brand to offer, you know, like halal tourism in Spain or Muslim-friendly tourism in Spain under an official brand. So we're working hard in that direction. And as you know, Spain is, or was before COVID, the second destination in the world with 85 million tourists. I know a lot of Muslim tourists are interested in discovering Andalusia and the Muslim past of Spain. And we have so much and so rich heritage that is so attractive, and the weather is nice. So the combination is perfect. It's just that we need to get more businesses ready to properly, you know, serve the Muslim customers. So I think those 2 sectors are good. And also I would like to add food technology. Food technology is going to be big, because not only because we're working and pushing to create a reference center for Europe, but also because we know in the future we have food crisis. We're going to have food crisis, and we're going to have very big challenges. And we're going to, if we want to have safe and halal food, we need to start working to develop halal technologies. Otherwise, there will be insects in the food, there will be antibiotics, there will be, we have many risks at the moment, and we are not ready. So we better start preparing. So we're now going to start working on food technology development for all of Europe. And I think these are, three very important pillars that will make Spanish a solid producer of halal. Okay. The pandemic, I think, has affected all of us in a negative way at the beginning, but then in a positive way towards the end of the pandemic. So in Spain now we have 70% of the population with the full vaccine, and we want to achieve 90% in the coming months, which means we're going more or less back to normal. In these 1.5 years, we have had big events canceled. Tourism didn't come to the country, they couldn't travel. Many shops have closed, but we have learned some positive lessons. So we have developed some social policies to protect people. We have paid more attention to what we eat, to how we live. We have learned to use, remote technologies, which is positive. But I think everybody really wants to get more social interaction as before. We miss it. We like to be with other people. We like to be sharing experiences with each other. So at the beginning, a lot of companies were badly hit, particularly tourism industry companies. But food companies continued to perform more or less as normal. Okay, there were some cancellations, there were some delays because of logistics, but the food sector has continued working more or less as before. The tourism industry, however, has been very badly affected. Even though now we are starting receiving tours again and people are coming, but not many Muslim travelers yet. Normally in Spain, every year we have one thing which is called the passing of the strait. And the passing of the strait is a phenomenon that happens once or twice a year. In Europe, we have about 7 million Moroccans living in Europe and working in Europe. But every Eid, they want to go back to their country to celebrate with the family, or in the summer, they go back to the country for weddings and holidays. So every year, 6 to 7 million Muslims drive across Spain with the whole families to get the ship at the south of Spain to cross to Morocco. They cross by boat, right? And this is called Operation Passing of the Strait. And every year, the authorities get ready. They prepare spaces in case they want to sleep there. They try to encourage restaurants on the road to have halal food, to have small praying spaces, to have wudu spaces, and so on. And we have been working on improving this for some years. But these 2 years, Morocco has closed the borders. And they have had a very severe lockdown. So these people didn't come. All this business was lost. But inshallah, next year we will have to resume. So yeah, some businesses have been impacted and some less than others. But I hope in the coming year, everything will be more or less back to normal, at least within Europe. I don't know. I think the whole world will take 2 to 3 years to get really ready to traveling internationally again. But I think we're going in the right direction. Okay. Yeah, this is a problem. And that's why we are looking very, very closely at how to solve these fake products, or how to solve the fact that some restaurants, they simply print a halal logo from the internet and put it on the panels outside their business, and that's it. Yeah, so we have been working with the tourism authorities to develop what we call a halal sign, right? So we want to solve some problems. First, the problem of distribution inside the country. In Spain, normally big producers in Spain, they think of exports. They don't think of selling inside the country because 2 million is really a small market for some of them. But now we're encouraging all of our the businesses who work with us to build a how is it called? Is it called a purchase central? So purchase central is basically one business that gets everything you need, and then it distributes to hotels, to restaurants, to other smaller businesses. So what we are working now on is that the meat has to be halal certified. We have to supervise it, and they have to get it from there, from this purchasing center. So then we are sure it's been properly, slaughtered and reared and everything. So this is one of the issues we face, but of course we don't have policemen in every street to control all the little cafes and restaurants in the country. So our recommendations to Muslim customers is do some searches in the internet before coming. We are now working in this European project, and we are truly going to get some restaurants and hotels to offer real halal food, properly certified. So they will be included in several databases, so it's easy to reach for the tourists on doing online searches. Also, talk to the owners and see if they're honest about it. Get the halal certification of the product if necessary. Get them the idea. We don't know you, we cannot trust you. Can we see a paper, please? Can you prove that you're buying this halal meat with all the warranties that we want? If you have any doubts, unfortunately, this is going to take a long time for us to get the market under some serious, control. So meanwhile, you can enjoy all the products in Spain. There are many other options. If you have doubts about the meat, you can have fish, you can have vegetables. This was a Muslim country centuries ago. As I said, we have many, many recipes which date from this period and which are 100% halal. So my advice is enjoy. Don't get obsessed with it. If you don't trust it, don't eat it. Go try something else. Well, it's becoming a big thing. It's beginning now. Now you talk about it with hotels, now you start talking about it in meetings with the tourism authorities, with the tourism companies, and they know about it. Some are already almost there, getting ready, really at a good level. And some are, as I said, in this European project, which is intended to help them to become really Muslim friendly. So what would I recommend to you? Well, it depends on your interests. But we have, if you're interested in culture, we have a massive offer of culture. We have Islamic heritage, we have the Alhambra, we have Madinat al-Sahara, we have the Alcazar in Seville, we have other destinations from the south of Portugal to the northeast of Spain. I mean, we have so many possibilities. If you're interested in food, as I said, also, there are many options which come from the Caliphal period, and it was a period of a big gastronomic development in Spain. So you have lots of recipes, a lot are vegetarian, so they're perfectly acceptable for you. If you want spa, if you want like medical treatments, also Spain has a very big, medical treatment and tourism industry where you can enjoy both things at the same time. If you want shopping, you're in the right place. We have lots of stuff, competitive price, so it's also enjoyable. And nature, we have also now, there's a lot of young travelers worried about the ecological impact of their holidays or their traveling. So we have now a lot of small companies offering alternative, more ecological ways of enjoying yourself, like trekking, cycling, tuk-tuks, lots of different alternatives for you to enjoy nature and then engage with sketching trips or watching birds, visiting farms and experiencing your connection with nature in different ways. So I think there are many new products where the traveler is really the main center of the whole experience. And I think we can offer anything that you want: hammams, beaches, horse riding. Anything that you would fancy, you can do. And it's a safe country. It's a very stable country, so what can I say? It's one of the best destinations in the world. Well, there are very good reasons. First reason is that this country can offer infrastructures, labor at a competitive price, very good quality, technological centers if you need to do research and development, and then the best, logistics connections in Europe, because we have some of the biggest ports, we have the railway, we're well connected with Asia, so it's a very good country for investing in producing halal. Also because we have a lot of know-how, we have very prepared and skilled people in this country. So it's really a good place for investments. Second, because I think Spain is also a very big platform to access the European market. Now we are working, if you remember, or I don't know if you were aware, but we created a halal cluster some years ago with the meat industry, particularly the meat industry. And I think the president is going to be the president of the Federation of Meat Industries in Spain. But the halal cluster is going to help create this platform, and also you can engage with Europe. Because sometimes the problem we have is, for example, we have a pizza company, they have problems to get halal turkey supply in Spain. So they have to resort to Belgium to get one of the ingredients of their, they do frozen pizza, but then we don't have enough halal turkey in Spain. The production is a bit low, and so on. So some other companies, they manufacture yogurt, but they need a specific colorant for the specific market, and then they need to buy this in Denmark. But we have no trade barriers because there are no borders in Europe. So Spain is also a big platform to reach European countries, be it, for production and also for export, because we have 50 million Muslims after all, still a market. Well, I would like to see Spain becoming a leader in production and also a leader in halal tourism. No, that we have very big competitors. I have to say that there are other destinations that are doing very, very well, but still we can get to a very high level. And in terms of production, I'm sure more and more we will get a more solid position. Now, as I mentioned, we just need this food technology center because the food industry is facing very severe challenges in the future, and we need to get everything that we need to support a steady, safe, halal production in the country. And I think we're going in the right direction. Okay. Well, I can share to you both. Positive experiences, I have so many because I meet a lot of people, and normally these people are wonderful. So that's really important for me, is the human face of halal, because we all care about the same thing, and only by sharing our experiences and our ideas, we're going to go further and further. So that's one thing, but also, what to say, the prejudice is probably the worst thing that I have found, like this industry, when you look at it from one part of the world, it looks like a very attractive one, but in other parts of the world, still we are we are labeled, you know, like something negative. And this is going to be a lot of work, but I know we're going to get there in the end. But all in all, you know, it's very rewarding when you help industries, you know, to understand Islam, to understand Muslims, and to get there, to connect. That's very rewarding for me. It's probably the most rewarding thing. One of the biggest challenges that I'm working on at the moment is to connect the OIC and the European Union. You know, the OIC is the second largest organization in the world after the United Nations, and the European Union represents 300 million people. So we are like two big entities, and they're not talking to each other, you know. I feel part of both. I'm a European, but I'm also Muslim. So for certain things, I need to connect with the OIC. For other things, I belong to Europe. So for me, the fact that there is no official channel of communication, the fact that Europe is not talking to OIC, the fact that Europe and OIC are not working together is something that I would like to see changed in the coming years. So this is my plans for the near future, is to start working, engaging with both, and see if we can see something different, because it will really help. It will really help, and it will really help. How to say? For example, once I was in a conference in a country, which is also, I'm not going to say which one, it doesn't matter. This can be applied to many other countries. It's a very important touristic destination. And of course, they get a lot of Spanish tourists. But then they told me, Barbara, you know the problem? We cannot get a visa to go to Spain. It's very difficult. And I felt, this is so unfair. You know, it's so unfair, because why would we close the door to these people, you know? It's not fair that we are on unequal terms. And we should, and there is a lot of mistrust, you know? So I would like to work to change that. So that's my next challenge, my next personal challenge from the Escuela Halal, is to try to connect these two big organizations. They represent millions of people, and we should have better connection, you know, better opportunities to get to know each other and to overcome this mistrust. And I think if we do that, we're going to have a brilliant future together. So that's my next challenge. Wish me luck. Inshallah, it will come to a success. Bueno, el mensaje es el siguiente. Halal es un valor universal y todos son bienvenidos en él. Si es una cuestión de conocimiento y voluntad. Así que nosotros lo que hacemos es abrir esa puerta para que todo el que quiera pueda unirse al camino de Halal. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.